Oak Island's treasure, about which stories have been made for centuries. Now, it is not just a story. What happened recently in Smith's Cove has changed the course of Oak Island's history. When Rick and Marty Lagina were digging, they saw shining layers of gold underwater. At first, everyone must have thought that this is a simple discovery. But as the digging went deeper, things became scary and surprising. They found an old, handmade ladder that was going straight into a dark tunnel filled with water. Now think, who built this ladder? And that tunnel, who was it for? Below, strange layers of wood were found, metal objects with symbols engraved on them, and something that even Rick and Marty could not speak after seeing. Cameras were silent, people were stunned, and then the government itself reached there. The area was sealed. Now, the question arises, has that vault really been found? Templar Knights, ancient documents, or something even bigger than gold? This isn't just about treasure. It's about a discovery that could rewrite history. So if you thought the mystery of Oak Island was the biggest myth ever, this discovery might shake your mind. Watch the video. And if you want to know the truth of this mystery, subscribe to the channel right now, because what has come out of the ground this time will change everything. Smith's Cove. Why is this place so special? Excavations have been done at many places on Oak Island, but Smith's Cove has always been a mysterious location. This is the place where some strange and unusual structures were found years ago, such as strange wooden shapes, underground channels, and drainage systems that do not seem to have been built by any ordinary person. The most surprising thing was that all those structures were very advanced according to that time. The drainage system that many experts saw here was exactly like what we find in today's engineering, meaning this was not an easy excavation. It was all part of a very well thought out planning. The name of Smith's Cove is also associated with the Templar Knights. In many old maps and documents, this cove has been called the Southern Gate. Symbols have also been found in some maps that resemble the Templar Order, such as cross shapes, geometric designs, and ancient letters. It is said about the Templars that while fleeing Europe, they brought their treasure by sea and hid it somewhere in North America. And Smith's Cove comes in the direction from where a sea ship can dock near Oak Island. In such a situation, this cove has always been under suspicion, that all the treasure was transferred from here. Rick and Marty Lagina have also always been serious about this cove. They had done metal detectors, sonar scans, and borehole tests here before, and every time something was found, which did not let them stop. But what happened this time broke all limits. Gold layers, first shine underwater. When the team started digging again in Smith's Cove in the summer of 2025, initially everything looked the same as before. Wet soil, pieces of wood, and a little debris. But suddenly a worker noticed that there was some slight shine on the surface of the water. Initially, no one paid much attention. Everyone thought it was some mineral shine or a stone lying in the water. But when Rick himself bent down and looked, his eyes stopped for a moment. Light golden particles were visible under the water, just like gold polished dust. Immediately a small sample was taken and sent to the lab. The whole team was waiting for the report. Everyone was sitting quietly, as if it was the time for a big decision. And then, when the report came, everyone's face changed. The lab test confirmed those particles were of real gold. Now you think this was not a gold mine, not a gold mine. Then how did this gold come here? Is this a scattered part of the treasure? Or is there a big store hidden somewhere inside the tunnel which is leaking out due to melting or flowing? Rick asked the same question to Marty. If this is just outside, then what can be inside? This one line shook the team, and everyone decided that the excavation would not be stopped here. Now not only soil was being removed here, now history was being excavated here. Handmade stairs towards a dark tunnel. When the team found gold particles underwater at Smith's Cove, the digging was deepened. but they had no idea what was going to be found next. Digging a few more feet and removing soil and rocks, suddenly a strange object was revealed, an old, rotten wooden ladder. This was no ordinary ladder. It appeared to be completely handmade. The wood was cut very roughly. There were no nails, no metal joints, just layers of wood and joints like tied ropes. It looked as if someone had made it a long time ago, very quickly, and that too, with the intention of just reaching the bottom somehow. When Rick put his hand on the ladder, he realized that the layers of wood were still moist. That is, it was not completely rotten, but it was definitely very old. When the team took out a sample of wood and sent it for dating, the report surprised everyone. The staircase was at least 400 years old. Now the question arose, why was someone going down here 400 years ago? And the biggest question, where was he going? The staircase led to a narrow tunnel. Cold air was coming from inside the tunnel, and the walls were made of stone. This tunnel did not look like an animal's den or a natural cave. Its shape was very straight, curved, and like a human design. Rick said to Marty in one line, "This is not an accidental cave. Someone has made it." First glimpse inside the tunnel. When the team started going inside, initially nothing was visible clearly. It was very dark inside, there was moisture, and a layer of mortar or mud was deposited on the walls. But as the flashlight fell inside, something shone. Symbols were engraved on the walls. Some were straight crosses, some were inside a circle, and some were symbols that were completely unknown. Rick saw one symbol and said, "It looks like Latin, but some letters are upside down, as if someone has deliberately written them secretly." In a corner, at a place slightly protruding from the wall, they saw some shining things. At first, everyone thought that it was the moisture of some stone, but on looking closer, it was found that they were metallic fragments, perhaps a part of a lock or chest that had now melted. And then, the camera team also went silent. The place was absolutely quiet, but there was a strange fear hidden in that silence. A member of the team later said, "It seemed as if someone was present there, but we could not see him." The sound technician said that when they placed a microphone inside the tunnel, a very faint echo was heard for a few seconds, as if some old wood was breaking, or someone had thrown a stone from a distance. But there was no one there. The team immediately began mapping the area and taking photos of the symbols. One particular symbol they found looked exactly like a Templar cross, small symbols in the four corners and a circle in the middle. And below that symbol, something was written very faintly, probably in Latin, ad occultum aurum, meaning towards the hidden gold. Rick and Marty just stared at each other. They didn't say anything, but it was clear from their faces that they were now very close to something very big. Mysterious wood layers and sealed chamber. As Rick, Marty, and their team moved further inside the Oak Island tunnel, there came a point when the texture of both the walls and the floor changed. Instead of soil and stone, there were now layers of wood, and not just one or two, but layers upon layers, as if someone had created a path of many layers to go down. These were not random pieces of wood. Each layer was the same size, and they were placed in a specific pattern. It looked as if someone had made a ceiling or tried to cover something up. Rick said, "This is not the floor. It is made to hide something." As soon as they started removing one layer, a slight moisture and cold air came out from below. And then a few minutes later, a faint metallic echo was heard, as if it was coming from inside something closed. When the layers of soil and wood were removed, what the team found took everyone's breath away. There was a sealed chamber underneath, completely covered in wood and stone. There was no door, no handle, just a heavy stone as a lid and some symbols on the bottom. "If there is a vault on Oak Island, this is probably the place," Marty said. The team's experts used sonar to measure the depth and shape of the chamber. There was something solid inside. But what? It remains a mystery. Evidence of Templar Knights? Now comes the symbols that were engraved on the walls above and around the chamber. These were no ordinary symbols. Many of them looked like Templar crosses. Some of the symbols included arrows, encircled crosses, and some designs that are straight out of old churches in Europe. Rick pointed to a symbol and said, "I've seen this design before, and it was not in a mine, but on a monastery wall." Marty also called in old Templar documents from his research team, and when they compared the two, a shocking match was found. This was no longer just speculation. The Templar Order had a direct connection to Oak Island. History books say that when the Templar Order was attacked in France in 1307, they made off with all their treasure. Some believe they hid their treasure in a secret location across the Atlantic Ocean, and Oak Island is in that direction. The layout of Smith's Cove, the tunnels, the symbols, and now this sealed vault, everything seemed to connect in a pattern. And most importantly, a metal plate was found near the sealed chamber, on which something was engraved in Latin, Sub Custodia Fratrum Sacrorum, IEI, under the supervision of the Holy Brothers. This line clearly indicated that this place was built under the supervision of the Templar Brothers, and whatever is hidden in it is not just any ordinary treasure, but probably something of religious, historical, or mystical importance. Rick's face turned serious. He softly said to Marty, "This is the place where history hid itself. Government interference and sudden stop of excavation. When the team discovered the sealed chamber during the excavation at Oak Island and the Templar symbols started getting confirmed, the team was very excited. Rick and Marty felt that now they have really come very close to that treasure, about which only stories were told for centuries. But as shocking as all this was, an even more shocking thing was going to happen in the next 24 hours. As soon as the information about that chamber reached the media, albeit in a limited form, suddenly government teams entered the excavation site. Some officers came by helicopter, and some government vehicles came directly near the site and stopped. The camera team that was shooting was immediately told, "Switch off the cameras." Before Rick and Marty could understand anything, the entire excavation site was sealed. The entire surrounding area was covered with black curtains and temporary fences. The rest of the show members were slowly taken out. Marty asked, "Why all this suddenly?" But there was no answer. The entire team was made to sign an NDA, non-disclosure agreement, meaning that no one could now speak openly about this discovery. The camera footage was confiscated, and the entire control of the excavation now went into the hands of the authorities. This was no small action. It showed that perhaps whatever was in that chamber was not just a treasure, but something that was connected to a big secret. Rick's eyes reflected both anger and fear. He said to Marty, "Now this is not just our mission. Now it is something else." Rick and Marty's statement, "History is about to change." After the incident, Rick and Marty were allowed to give a small on-camera interview. That too, not for the show's team, but for documentation. Rick came in front of the camera, remained silent for a while, and then said, "What we saw was much more than any treasure." His voice was soft, but it had a different kind of depth. Marty was standing nearby. His face was pale, and there was a confusion in his eyes, as if he wanted to say something but could not. Rick then said a line, which later went viral on social media. "Now there will be no digging. Research will be done." This one line made it clear that now the matter has changed. The digging had been stopped. Now only government-appointed researchers, historians, and probably security agencies were working there. Rick further said, "We were searching for it for so many years, but when that thing came, we realized that it was much bigger than we thought. This is not just about Oak Island. This is a story related to the history of humanity." His face was emotional, and there was a kind of emptiness in his eyes, as if he had seen something that he would remember for his whole life. The show's team was clearly told that any update related to the next digging or discovery will now come directly through the government. This meant that Rick and Marty were no longer in complete control. This was a shock for the fans. This line went viral on Reddit, YouTube, and Twitter. Ab Kodia Nahi, research hoagie. Many people started saying that Rick was shown to be afraid of something, while some believed that maybe he had touched something that should have remained hidden. Whatever it was, one thing was certain. The search for Oak Island was no longer just a TV show. Now it had become a story that would change history. What could be inside the vault? Theories and imaginations. When the sealed chamber was found during the excavations on Oak Island, the biggest question was, what is inside it? Whatever Rick and Marty had seen so far, the symbols, the architecture, and the way the chamber was sealed, made it clear that this was no ordinary treasure. This was something that had been hidden very thoughtfully, and that too centuries ago. Many theories began to emerge about this chamber. The most popular theory is biblical items, i.e., Ark of the Covenant, menorah, or ancient sacred texts could be in this vault. It has been said for centuries that the Ark of the Covenant contained the tablets of God's rules, or the 10 Commandments. Even touching it was not free from danger. If this is really what is hidden in Oak Island, then imagine. This discovery can be earth-shaking not just historically, but also religiously and spiritually. Another theory says that some ancient technology may be hidden in it, a device that was possessed by the Templar Knights, or some civilization even older than that. Some people associate it with something like the Antikythera mechanism. That is, an ancient computer that could read time, the movement of planets and maps. Some experts also believe that this vault is just a trap, a decoy, so that the real treasure can be shifted to another place. But one thing is clear. Whatever is hidden in this chamber, it was worth keeping away from the eyes of the world. And perhaps it was so powerful or dangerous that it was not considered right to bring it out. Is Oak Island cursed? Another mysterious thing has come to light in the excavation so far, and that is the strange events and accidents related to this place. You must have seen many times in the show that during the excavation, the technical equipment suddenly fails. Sometimes the cameras stop working, and sometimes the metal detectors repeatedly give wrong readings. Some people consider it a coincidence, but those who have worked here say, there is something in the ground of Oak Island which does not want to reveal itself. There are many such incidents mentioned in history, where people died mysteriously during excavation. Water filled up, the ground sank, suddenly there was an explosion, and someone died. Now let's come to the famous belief that has made Oak Island more mysterious. Until 7 people are sacrificed, the treasure will not be found. So far, 6 people have died on Oak Island, and Rick Lagina himself has said many times that he never takes this line lightly. Some people believe that this is just an old story, but there are many who believe that Oak Island is under some ancient curse. And this is the reason why no one has been able to extract this treasure till date. One more special thing. It is written in many old maps and diaries that this land reveals its secrets only to those who come here with true intentions. If someone comes here with greed or deceit, Oak Island itself throws him out. The story of these 2 brothers, Rick and Marty, is also considered special because they were not just in search of gold or money, but of truth and history. Now that the vault has been found, the symbols have been revealed, and even the government has got involved in the matter. One question is on everyone's mind. Is the 7th sacrifice still left? Or has Oak Island finally revealed its secret? Leaked footage and blurry photos. After government intervention, the excavation at Oak Island was completely sealed. Cameras were turned off, the show's team was out, and the entire site was covered with a black tent. But even though everything was closed, the truth could not be completely hidden. A few days later, a blurry footage went viral on social media. This video was only 14 seconds long, but was so powerful that it created a stir everywhere. It shows a narrow tunnel faint glimpses of symbols on the walls, and then the camera's focus suddenly stops at one place. That place seemed to be near the chamber. The light of the flashlight falls there, and the very next moment something is seen moving. Perhaps a blurry shadow-like shape, which was moving intermittently. The video was not very clear. It seemed as if someone had secretly shot it with a mobile phone. There was no sound, only the breathing of the camera and a slight noise of the mic. But that one movement got everyone thinking. Is someone still in that chamber? Was it some guardian-like thing? Or was it a trap that got activated? Some people also said that it was just a movement of air, but on closer inspection it seemed as if it was a shadow of a human or an animal, which moved away from the wall and then disappeared. There was no statement from the team, but people were convinced something has definitely leaked from the site. Viewers' theories and online discussions. As soon as the footage went viral, Reddit, Twitter, and YouTube were flooded with theories. People analyzed the video frame by frame, tried to identify symbols by zooming in, and examined every pixel of that moving shadow. A user on Reddit claimed that the shadow was not of a human, but of a strange creature with a long neck and thin legs. That is, different from the human form. Oak Island leak started trending on Twitter, and thousands of people came forward with their own versions. Some said, "This is the Templar spirit which is protecting the treasure." Some said, "It is some ancient guard or trap which has now become active." But the most shocking theory was aliens. Yes, some people linked this discovery to extraterrestrial activity. They compared the symbols with some ancient UFO sightings and said, such signs have been found on some alien crash sites before. Many videos were made on YouTube, titles like Oak Island Tunnel Leads to Alien Base, Templars and Aliens, Hidden Connection. Was any non-human being protecting the vault? Some people also claimed that Oak Island is actually an ancient contact point, where centuries ago there was interaction between humans and some other civilization. And now that old civilization does not want to tell its secret to anyone. Rick and Marty have not commented on this, but an old interview of Rick went viral in which he said, "Oak Island hides more than it shows us." And now, everyone started wondering, was what we saw just a shadow, or a warning from another world? What's next? The team's next plan. It is not possible to retreat from where the Oak Island excavation has reached. Rick and Marty are now completely sure that what they have found is not just a treasure of gold and silver, but a truth that will shake history. The sealed chamber is now very close to opening, but the government's entry and control of research teams are making things more complicated. Marty recently said in an off-record interview, "We have opened the door. Now it remains to go inside." This one line created a new stir in the entire Oak Island community. Its meaning is clear. The team has still not given up. Rick and Marty may not be seen in front, but they are still engaged in preparations from the back end. Now everyone's eyes are on the next excavation. Will the vault open? Will that secret be revealed to the world? Or will Oak Island once again leave its story incomplete? What has been found on Oak Island is not just a few coins, pieces of wood, or metal. It is the history of humanity, a truth that was hidden for centuries, and which is now slowly being revealed. Now the next step can be even bigger, even more dangerous. So if you also want to know what happens next on Oak Island, what is hidden inside the vault, and can this really become the biggest discovery of the whole world, then subscribe to the channel right now, because the next update can prove to be the most shocking truth of this century.